Well, let's begin here. What happens now regarding your journey with managing and expressing your addiction and improving your personal development is in your hands. It is how you interact with and listen to God as you engage in this experience that determines who you'll become. Our aim is to deepen your relationship with your personal development coach, God. Our time together is not meant to replace the essential connections you need to cultivate within your own community. Everyone needs a place where they can be themselves, be fully honest in order to receive feedback and support. You need a support group, and this isn't it. Instead, we're here to enrich your relationships by offering insights about God and life that may inspire you to break free from ambivalence. We want to change and we don't want to change. Encourage you to pursue new personal challenges and enhance your interactions with those around you while aligning with God's intentions for your life. This is more than an informational podcast. For knowledge not grounded in human experience won't lead to change. Our podcast is designed to be interactive. This means we want to hear as much as possible from you, as true change requires us to acknowledge our need for growth, develop new habits, and take the risk of sharing our unique journey. During this time, you will hear from us and others alternative solutions for you to consider, but it is up to you to decide what is helpful and consistent with God's will for you. The nature of our interactions doesn't allow for a truly therapeutic encounter, so what you've received needs to be viewed like those Bereans that God talks about, or inspired the writer of Acts to talk about in Acts, whereby they went and searched the scriptures to see if what Paul was talking about was true. Let's seek together God as we pray this prayer. Psalm 139, 23 and 24. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you and lead me along the path of everlasting life. So I want to welcome everybody here who's taken some time out in their busy schedule to be a part of this. And I'm Roy Smith. I'm an ordained minister with the Evangelical Church Alliance. I'm also a licensed psychologist and certified addictions counselor. And Carl here, my buddy, describe who you are in great and wonderful detail.
Well, I don't want to take that too seriously. I'm Carl Sever, and I am a licensed professional counselor. I'm also an addictions counselor. I'm in recovery myself, and I'm taking it a day at a time. And I've been doing therapy. You could tell by my gray hair for a long time. I've been in the field for about 40, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I'm doing the math now, about 45 years.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for a while, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity that God gave me to, help. And I get help by helping others. There's an old expression: to keep it, you got to give it away. And that comes from the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. So, yeah, that's me.
So you've been doing this for more than a week and a half now.
Yeah, that's
The
for sure.
probably, if we counted them up, I did fairly recently, and if we add our own personal therapy experiences to it, we've spent probably between the two of us 10,000 hours apiece in some kind of personal growth or helping other people grow. So you have about 20,000 hours of that could get us in a lot of trouble. Okay.
Yes, it could.
Just just that amount of working on things where we just think we might know enough to make ourselves dangerous to those listening.
Yeah. I think the key is not to take ourselves too seriously.
No, it isn't. Sometimes we can really get on our own cases and we become our own worst opponent. We complain when the other guy picks on us, but reality is, if people walked into our heads and saw what was going on there, we're probably worse than the other guy we're complaining about over there. So it's just part of life. There's a certain amount of struggle to it. So, welcome, Keith. Welcome, Larry. Is there any place you would like to start out today, sharing before, so that Carl and I have something to talk about versus us just make stuff up that may or may not be helpful?
I can raise my hand.
All right.
I'm always looking for insights to be a better sponsor, more honest, open, honest, open-minded, and willing. When to push, when to comfort, when to confront, when to back off. And like I said, mine more gambling and porn. Different but similar, both process addictions. So that's kind of the recovery communities I operate in. And yeah, so I'm surprised now that people look to me and I'm like, I'm just one of you. It's been 10 years, but I just forget how quickly time goes and that it's still a day at a time. So that's what I got. So
Thank
Carl, how
you.
would you respond? What goes on your mind? You've been sponsor for 2.5 weeks, so maybe a week more than Larry. When you look at that responsibility and the nature of that relationship, what are some of the insights you have to share?
Well, I think a couple items. One is, Larry, I think be Larry. I know that sounds sort of, almost like trite to say that, but just be you, be genuine. Talk from your heart. I think that's one thing that's really important. And I think the other thing is, um, we don't have to know all the answers as sponsors. Um, it's collaborative a lot of times. And, our role, Larry, is, to, if it's a 12-step program, Larry, our role is to help our sponsee through the steps. I don't know, Larry, is what you working on it's a 12-step program?
GA is Gamblers Anonymous. That's a 12-step program. But
Okay.
the other is Samson Society, which is we have 7 steps, but the 12 is in there. They just didn't. They
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to, the history of Nate and all that. They wanted to make it more open so that a Christian man would be willing to come to the room.
I'm with you.
And so many people, I can't tell you how many times they sit there and, why do you use higher power? And it's just like I get tired. So I just say, you're on your own journey, man. I'm going to be on mine. And so I just get tired of the church sometimes.
I'm with you. And I think the key is to go slow. One of the things I've noticed in groups, 12 support groups and 12-step groups, is, I do the first step and I'm done like in 1 month. You know what I mean? And then
Sure.
you do the second step the second month. And I think, the AA expression slow and easy does it, man. It's just going slow, relaxing, dealing with problems, life problems as they come up, and encouraging your sponsee to call you and not chasing them, but that doesn't mean you can't call them but not chasing them and just taking it easy. And I found that the steps are, in my opinion, divinely inspired. I truly believe that. I see Keith maybe nodding his head a little bit on that one. And so we take our time with them. And, I think relaxing and recognizing that God put you in that sponsee role for or sponsor role for a reason. And I think allowing whatever your belief system is, I don't know, but allowing,
I'm Christian, yeah.
all right, allowing the spirit to come into you. And, one of the things I always used to freak out about, like if I was giving a public speech or even in a tough discussion, like, what am I going to say out of my mouth? Right? Like, what am I going to say something dumb? And I come to the conclusion, and I can't quote Bible, chapter and verse, but the spirit comes into our head when we ask it to and out of our mouth. I think that's actually in the Bible. And so if we rely on that and have faith, that being that sponsor gets a lot easiher. I don't know if that helped, Larry, but feel
Yeah,
free,
I have
Keith,
another.
to say something too,
I have
man.
I have a follow-up question. One of my sponsees, as you know, been relapsing. He's been through 7 pillars in pure desire. I'm not sure how deep he went, which is an 8-month program. It's very deep. It's clinically informed, trauma informed too. And I just got him, and his wife just filed divorce papers and took their child out of state. And he's freaking out a little bit, and um, I know I won't promise that this will save his marriage. And I'm trying to get him to say, do it for you, get in recovery for you to be healthy, not someone else. You work on you. And I just feel it's a broken record. I just say, no, work on you, man. It's as noble if that happens, but I think you're gonna grow faster and deeper if you just, like you said, slow and easy, but work on you. So any advice, tips?
Wow, I think I want you to be my sponsor, Larry. Holy moly, that was good advice. Um,
Well,
wow.
I say one bullshitter to another is how I kind of deal with. I said, I bullshit with the best of them. I lied with the best of them, or the stupidest, silliest stuff. And when I got real honest, I had to stop the bullshit. And I'll be kind, but I'll only put up with so much, if you know what I
So
mean.
what is your question? I think your answer was so good.
Well, my question is, any tips for those in the church who kind of have put marriage up on this pedestal? It should be honorable, is what the Bible says. But they put up this and that divorce is the end of the world, and they failed as a human if their spouse divorces, maybe for good reasons. So I have someone's intruding here. Sorry. Sorry.
I think
It's okay if he intrudes, if he starts to actually speak and we have a Mr. Ed moment here, I
Yeah.
start to get a little concerned, okay?
Strictest confidence, we know. Okay. Sorry.
that dog's better looking than me, Larry.
But he's very entitled. So just saying. The Queen used to have some, Queen of England, the English setters. They know they're entitled. So
So, Larry, it sounds to me like as a sponsor, your sponsees are going to suffer and they're going to go through suffering every day. Some days are better than others. And our job as sponsors is to be there when our clients reach out, our sponsees, sorry, reach out and walk that journey with them together. And your presence, your willingness to be there and listen is curative. And you and I, Larry, are not God. We can't guarantee the outcomes, right? But if Larry is acting as an agent of good for your client, for your sponsee, sorry, I'm also a therapist, so I keep slipping up. your sponsee, if you are acting as an agent of good, we have to surrender to our fallibility, and we have to surrender to the fact that we are not omnipotent, and that when we act as agents of good, we have to allow God to work his magic, because the puzzle for each one of us has a million pieces. And the only one that understands that puzzle is God. We just see one piece of that. So your sponsee goes through the divorce. You're there for him. He may keep relapsing. You continue to be that solid object and that rock for him. And one day, the good Lord might hit him in the ass with a bolt of lightning, and he gets where he needs to go. But it's the not the end result. It's the process of you being with him on the journey that seems to be the most important thing right now. Am I making any sense at all, Larry?
Yeah, my longtime sponsor in GA passed away suddenly last year, and he saved my life. He was my sponsor for 7.5 years, and I can hear him talking right through you.
Uh-oh.
It's like he's, and I just don't tell my evangelical friends, but I can hear him speaking right through you, because he would say things like, he never said you should. He would say, in my experience. He'd always put it in that context, in my experience, if I'd ask him something. He never like give me, you should, that kind of thing. And I've tried to model that as myself. And it's, I'm thinking of the 12th step. Having worked these steps, we've undergone a spiritual transformation. And that's what I'm just patiently waiting for that, that when that happens, whatever you want to call it, the pink cloud or whatever, maybe it's deeper than the pink cloud, but you've been working the steps over time, over months and months, and I don't know when the transformation happens, but that's my kind of like, he asked, what are you selling? I said, I'm selling hope. And so I don't know what else to say to him.
Mm-hmm. What was your sponsor's name?
Mike. Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah.
So how would Mike have answered your original question that Carl answered?
Can I be real blunt?
Yeah.
He would say, slow the fuck down.
Okay.
It says you're going back into your I'm an 8 in the Enneagram. He says you're going back, he called it 8 mode. You're going back into 8 mode. You can power up the bulldozer and you can hurt some people. He would say something like that. He'd been in construction and stuff, and he was
so would Mike have a sense that you may have, Larry, some control issues, and then first project them onto yourself, and then in order to get some relief, lay it on someone else you claim to care about in order not to drive yourself nuts?
Exactly. He would say, get off the bulldozer and come talk to me.
Wow.
And gosh, I actually, it's a whole grief thing, when I lost him.
Yeah.
And I got the call from his brother, and people like that don't grow on trees, He was 25 years in recovery himself, and he said to me, I get a little emotional, after I'd been like 8. Well, he was my second sponsor, but when I said, Mike, I'd like you to be my sponsor. And he said, well, if you want to stop gambling, I'm not your guy. But if you want to get healthy, I'll walk with you.
Huh.
And I said, what the hell? I've done all this work, and now you said you're not, to me, it was about sobriety instead of health and recovery. And and he put his hand on my shoulder. It was at an in-person meeting. I'll never forget that. Never forget that. So I'm trying to breathe and pass that on to other men,
Mhm.
and there's something you couldn't bullshit him. You just couldn't. And he would call me out. He'd say, Larry, tell me the truth. Or he would say, what aren't you telling me? Just as plain as day. Because we would
And
check
what
it.
would tick you off is you actually weren't telling him something, right? You could actually answer that question.
Yes. Or I was leaving out critical details.
Yeah,
And he had friends who were therapists. So I think he learned that from therapist friends who are trying to get down to honesty.
right.
And so they could help.
Huh.
Anyway, so I almost cried. I was okay.
Well, I found myself wondering, did you ever, since his death, write him a letter?
I haven't done that. I do write poetry now, and maybe I should. That's really good advice.
Yeah, and maybe write a letter that doesn't end.
Hmm. Oh,
Okay,
wow.
because you have a Mike part of you, and when you describe Mike, I like Mike, and I never met him.
Yeah.
I like him through your smile. I like him through your laugh. I like through the quips, through the straight shooting, and so there is a Mike part of you that never can go away.
Hmm.
Okay, your Mike's legacy. When people go, "What do I leave?" and we're gonna. Case got a good story. I remember him from before, so we'll get there in a minute. But the we all want to create a legacy, and you're part of the you've internalized Mike. Mike is part of who you are, and uh, he's happy that you're his legacy. And it's a matter of learning how to organize that legacy, make it work for you, and because there may be in a letter, okay, sometime when you're particularly being challenged, you know, you hear him say, "Put in the letter what you're not telling me now." Because what you're not telling me now, Larry, that's what's going to get you in trouble as a sponsor. Okay, because if that sponsee goes over into that zone, you're going to defend yourself instead of take care of that sponsee.
Hmm.
If that sponsee gets a little too close to your shit, it's going to get interesting.
Yeah. I remember when I relapsed. Maybe it's been 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Um, my gambling was in options, naked options, call options, all kind of stuff. Anyway, uh, really risky stuff. Anyway, and his comment was when I called him, he said, "Well, at least you didn't hide." What was that? 20 minutes ago? So he said, "Yeah, you lost money, but you called me." I said, and he said, "Next time, call me before." And then it's when I learned to getting more emotionally healthy, recognizing fear, loneliness, sadness, some basic human emotions. But what's underneath it? What's underneath it? Why did I need that numbing at that moment? You know. So yeah, this is good stuff. Thank you.
The we I wrote a book called Pass It On. It's at liveupresource.com, and it is for coaching, not necessarily directly sponsorship. But it begins, and I think we can expand the conversation. It's got several parts to it. The last part of it will work forward in the book, ends with maybe about 15 to 20 subjects that is likely to come up in anybody's life. the need for forgiveness, struggle with finances, trauma, different things, and relate some scripture and some ideas that you might want to share with somebody for each of those very common pitfalls, things that get people out of whack. The middle section talks about the nature of the back and forthness in human communication, and what's going on. You know, what's the sponsee's expectations what of you, and how can that be talked about, and some of the various things that occur as just humans relate to other humans to assist them to keep in mind some of the breaking down human connection into maybe some parts. But the first part, and this is a part that I thought would be a good general place to start with people, um, is who influenced you for the good and who influenced you for the bad, and how, and to be able to revisit some of those early relationships. Um, and just to get Keith, hear Keith's voice because I miss him. Is Keith? Is there? Can you share with us? And you might have already done this, as I recall, but so it could be the same people or different people. Who has been helpful to you relationally from a mentorship or a human interaction perspective, and who has harmed you from a mentorship perspective, because you have good and bad mentors, and sometimes we can learn from the bad ones a different kind of thing, but as much if not more than from some of the good mentors that we had. So Keith, could you respond a little bit to that, and then I'd like to hear Larry's answer to that, and then we can let it flow in that direction and some other directions.
Absolutely. I would say my sponsor, well, I'm part of Sebson, so Silas, but sponsor. Um, and she's not here, my godmother. She really was a pivotal part of my life, my faith journey. Um, honestly, I don't have many more. I have plenty more bad. Um, um, old pastors, um, family members, people I looked up to. Yeah, I think it's just those two people that have played an integral part. I guess my sponsor, it's the willingness to listen, the willingness to be open, and to call me out on my crap and to um, challenge me because nobody, no, none of the bad mentors, they wouldn't challenge me. They're either enable me or not care or just bypass me. But he will challenge the things I say. He would challenge, why are you feeling that? Why are you saying that? Why are you saying that about yourself? Like, don't say that. Why are you saying that? And then my godmother, she was just the spiritual pillar, um, for my life and my family's life. I don't know if I would have come to know Christ if it wasn't for her. Because before that, there was no God in my home at all, growing up. So she really played a big part in that, and she would come no matter what time of day, night it was. If there was, because there was always something bad happening at my house. She would come pray, come talk, just just check on us, and then as I got older, check on me, um, making sure, like, are you and God doing? Are you still walking with the Lord? And just it was always there was always a care. no, I actually take this seriously. I care that you're actually walking with God. Um, so those two really had a have had a profound impact on me.
If she was listening like Larry and Carl and I are to what you just said, what would be some of the things she would say to you?
Oh, um, she would probably say, just don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up on God. Keep going. Um, she always told me she was proud of me. And it was just hard to believe that because of the life I was living. But she would always say that. And it just, yeah, just, yeah, I know that's something she would say. But she would always tell me to make sure you're going to church, make sure you're doing, you're staying in your word and don't give up. Yeah,
And she wouldn't be lying to you. She would mean it. When
yeah,
she said, like when you said proud of you, I thought she's telling you the truth. She knows what you did, or enough about it. Okay. Uh, in the sense of, and yet she would still say that she was proud of you.
well,
You couldn't shake. I just saw a picture of a bulldog holding on to someone's pant leg. All right. And you're trying to say, I'm no good and I'm going this direction. And she's the bulldog grabbing hold of your pant leg, going, oh, no, 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 I'm proud of you. No, 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 Keith. I'm proud of you. No, 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 Keith. I'm proud of you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. She definitely is that. I know she didn't no she didn't know about any of the things that were going on in my life. She had passed a
Mm-hmm.
couple years ago, but I know her that because I would have definitely shared that with her.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at this point of me getting help and going walking in recovery, I would have definitely wanted her to know, and I know that she still would have even more just been so supportive and still have said that because I was just her heart.
That I knew when I said it wrong because it really wasn't about her knowing or not knowing. It is really about whatever she knew. She was going to be that bulldog. And you weren't through any kind of behavior going to change her view of you.
Yeah,
And for a guy that didn't have when we talked the last time, an overabundance of a fan club growing up with people who appreciated you. I didn't see a big stand of people clapping throughout your life, trying to over nurture you. Okay. Uh, that was one bulldog that wasn't going to give up nurturing you no matter what you did.
yeah, 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 absolutely.
Larry and Carl, what do you guys think when you hear Keith talk?
Um, when you talked about her, Keith, I looked in your eyes and saw your facial expression, and it was obvious to me how much you loved her. And it was obvious to me what a rock she was for you and how she encouraged you in spite of all that you've gone through. And I just felt good listening to you talk about her, Keith. Um, and is she still alive, Keith, or did she pass on?
No, she passed on. She passed 2023, I believe.
Okay. And it just felt good to watch you talk about her and to see how she affected you in such a positive way. That's my reaction to Roy and Larry, to listening to you, Keith, talk about her.
I actually liked her as a bulldog, and I don't necessarily like bulldogs, but there's something about her. I thought, Carl, she is willing to love him hard.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's tenacious,
Yeah.
tenacious.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of love we need, And Keith, did she tell you about yourself now and then?
Yeah, she did. She knew growing up I had definitely issues with self-esteem and looking down, um, looking down, and there was actually another person that was with her. They both used to come. Another woman, her name was Mary. They were both always together. And they both, it was either one of them, but my godmother, she used to tell me, just always don't keep your head down, because I always used to walk with my head down. Um, and just you don't have anything to hold your head down about. Um,
Keith, she saw the beauty in you. She saw your spirit, and she was lifting you up. She was giving you the medicine, brother.
yeah, yeah. So
Larry, when you look at your mentors, who stands in line for um, a badge of honor that built into you, and who as a mentor do because we internalize our mentors. We have parts of ourselves that become like them, whether we like it or not. And when you look at who negatively influenced you, how's that all fit together, the good and the bad?
Well, before I answer that, I want to just tell Keith that I felt a warmth. I felt an acceptance right here. You could feel it as you were talking about her and your relationship with her. And speaking of the dog metaphor, I've heard acquaintance is a Hebrew expert, and he says he always, when he hears Psalm 23 read, the end of it, he always gets upset because it's a mistranslation. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. He said, the clear rendering of the Hebrew is pursue, like the hound of heaven. And I thought of that, not a bulldog, but a hound of
Mm-hmm.
love, of kindness, of goodness pursuing you. So that was my thing. So
Mm.
anyway, and I don't know Hebrew, so I don't have a chance to get mad. When I was ever at a funeral or whatever, or even in Samson meetings, I said, why don't they change that? Anyway, okay, to answer your question, Ray, the big one would be my grandfather, who immigrated from Hungary. The whole story, him. And I can remember growing up, I probably only saw him 3 or 4 times a year, but always be for like a week or so. And he was a farmer up in Alberta. Um, and anyway, he was just look in my eyes and he says, "You're going to be okay." And you're going to be okay. And he put his hand on my shoulder. I can feel that. And he just accepted me, even in my boyishness, my immaturity, as a boy, etc. And then as I grew up. So, yeah, and then he'd be the big one. And I remember being in recovery. I remember he was a Lutheran, very strong, but I remember we were in Germany. I lived in Germany for about 4 years as a teenager, my parents, and we were in church, and I can't remember the hymn, I don't know the English words for it anyway. But I looked over him and he was singing it in German. It was just, and I said, "Man, you really believe this shit?" I thought, I thought that, and it really struck me. It really struck me, you know. And there's all kinds of stories about him uh, saving Japanese farms when they had to get interned, you know, and doing stuff he could have gone prison for, you know, and confronting authorities, et cetera, et cetera. So those didn't come out till he died. Um, anyway, so that's him. So he gives me inspiration in terms of standing up for what's right, even if it hurts, you know, and um, and that's what a lot of what I'm doing now when I have betrayed spouses that are involved, you know, and when the discovery, the D-Day, and all that, and then trying to have compassion and empathy toward them and try to impart that to my sponsees or my asylees, um, and to get them to internalize my stuff, name and own stuff, anyway. So that was him. And then of course my sponsor Mike, and then I have another Silas. He has since moved to the Philippines. He's retired. His name is Joe, and he was so encouraging. He would say when I would tell him something, he would say, "Well, don't be so hard on yourself." So I want you to go read the parable of the two sons, the prodigal. And then when we talk next, I want you to tell me what you feel the father did and how he responded when the prodigal kept naming his sins over and over again. Anyway, so I remember that. That's Joe. And then as far as less than helpful, I had a pastor. I was in the just for a strict conflict, I can just say I was in the PCA, Presbyterian Church in America, for many years. Thought that correct doctrine would lead to healthy living, and it didn't. And my sponsor was a Baptist, good guy, Mike, and he said, "You are carrying just a bag load of stuff, man, from your past." He said, "Don't you have something like absolute confession and absolution?" I said, "Well, that's my mother's church." And so he hadn't been wrong about anything yet. So I said, I'll go try and make an appointment. Appointment with my Presbyterian pastor. He literally, when I said what I was here for confession and absolution, he turned to me and he said, "We don't do that here." He gave me 2 Bible verses and showed me the door. I'm not kidding. So I'd known him for 7 years. I thought, you know, anyway, so that was God saying, "Okay." And so then I found a Lutheran pastor, and I think we had 2 or 3 appointments, and I just poured it all out to him, and he would say the same thing that Mike would say, "What aren't you telling me?" Believe it or not, in so many words. And so when he prayed the prayer of absolution, like a lightning bolt, you know, it was like that transformation really took off. It I just the bag, like Christian in Pilgrim's Progress, he's created this big bag of his past. It just like rolled off. So I may not use those terms with other men. They're mostly Christian that I sponsor and stuff. But I try to impart those concepts, you know, saying what you did was not okay, but you're okay. If that makes any sense.
Hmm.
So yeah, and sadly, the churches where I've experienced a ton of hurt. You know, trying to bring recovery to the church is like trying to break into a bank vault with a screwdriver. So, and James Reeves is a friend of mine, personal friend. Maybe you've heard of him, or maybe you haven't. He does the Fearless series from Fort Worth, and we've shared some very deep stuff. He's become a friend, but he's kind of told me, "Larry," he said, "you probably need to just let the church be." And that's been very hard because I've wanted these pastors to kind of get how many men and typically the families are suffering. They're suffering. And Mike challenged me. I asked, so what's your purpose in life? He said, it's to carry the message and to live the message, which is the 12 steps, etc., and all that entails. So I don't think of it as a burden. But yeah, to answer your question, that's what it is. I'm rambling now. So
Carl, what are you feeling?
I'd like to talk about my own mentor, but it's a very different kind of mentor. And I thought of several people when you guys were talking about your mentors, and I've had those. I've had some people who really walked with me on journeys and helped me. But I remember going back to when I was a senior in high school, um, and I had actually a junior, and I was a discipline problem in my school. Um, I did some pranks and some really, you know, bad addictive behaviors back then. I mean, I couldn't stop smoking, and I would get busted continuously and thrown into detention, and finally, and of course, fighting and carrying on. And finally, they didn't know what to do to me with me because nothing worked. The last straw was I put a lit cigarette in the statue of Jesus's fingers, and at the change of classes, and then showed everybody, and it caused like a near riot. Everybody thought that was great. I'm sorry, Jesus, for that. And but I think Jesus has a sense of humor too, so I may not be in too much trouble. But what they did, they put me in.
He might have said, I'm not the statue.
Right, right.
But
Yeah,
don't
but
tell
he's
anybody I said that. But he might have said, I'm not the statue. Don't worry about it.
So they put me in a corner in the library and to put two bookshelves on either side of the corner. So I only had a small opening to get out. And I was ready to quit school. I mean, everybody was going to classes. This was a month or two. I was in there, locked in there. And this one nun every day would walk by this prison that I was in. It had a door, but I wasn't going out of that door because I knew what the consequences would be. And this nun walked by me, and she would say, I remember she was what we called the black and blue nun because she had a blue robe with a black, like vest. And she would touch me on the shoulder, and she would say, don't give up. And she did that every day for a month or two while I was in there. And that little bit of encouragement, I think, saved my life. Because if I would have quit school, I was acting out the way it was, a little juvenile delinquent that I was. And if I would have quit school, that would have been the coup de grace, so to speak. But that little touch on the shoulder and that little bit of encouragement meant the world to me. And it's like your guys, Larry and Keith, they knew what to say at the right time. They had a knack, right? This nun had that knack too. And I made it through there and I graduated. I went on the senior year and graduated, but barely in terms of not grades, but behavior. But that little bit of encouragement saved my life. And so that's my little mentor story. And it's 50 years or so later, and I'm still talking about her. Right? Just that little moment. And so, yeah, Roy, that's sort of what came to mind with me.
And you've, as my friend shared with that story before, it's been a while, so it's good to hear it again. And I was thinking of feel the three things you guys all have in common is how that person made you feel about you. Larry began this by saying, not quite like this, Larry, because you're too human for it. Give me the 18 good reasons to be a good sponsor. You know what I mean? And yet when Larry discusses his sponsor, he smiles, he laughs, he wants to cry because he misses him, and he's there. And when Keith talks about his grandmother, and it's how these people made you feel about you. And I would like to think they make you feel about you very similar to how God actually feels about you. At that moment, they're reflecting. God says, different than grandmother, I know everything, Keith. Okay? And I'm proud of you, son. And I forgive you, son. You know? And 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 God says to Larry, "What aren't you telling me, Larry? What aren't you telling me?" I mean, I know it, okay. I God know it, but and so it's not give up. You're Carl. You can be a shit, and yet, despite this badass shit, okay, God's going, you're stuck between two bookcases with a door and you don't walk out.
Right.
Which means that not only is the nun saying to you, don't give up, the nun is reflecting to you what she's seeing in you, which is you didn't give up because you could have walked out the door.
Yes. Yes.
You could have ended it.
Yep.
And she gave you God's message.
Yes,
but it was a message you were already on some level acting out in front of her eyes. What's keeping this guy who defines himself as a badass, if he really was a badass, between two bookcases for a month and a half? That's not a badass. If you're a badass, you put your middle finger up in the air, you're out of there, and you do give up. Okay.
And it's interesting, Keith, when you talked about, I think it was your godmother, and Larry and even me here, and Roy, you have those people too. We were all at a point of vulnerability. We were all at a point where our hearts were hurting, broken maybe, and they saw the goodness, as Roy's pointing out, in us that we could not see. And they believed in us. And earlier today, I was meeting with a client. It's funny, we're talking about this now. And I told her outright, I looked at her and said, I really believe in you. I believe in who you are and who you want to become. And I think the change in this woman's expression and the smile that came on her face was priceless. And I believe that's the gift that we're inspired to give the people we're trying to help, our sponsees and the people we're trying to help. And the gift we received from our mentors is in that touch, or that Keith, when she said, don't give up on God. They're telling us they see us, they see who we are, and they believe in us. And that, the breakdown of encouragement is, it means to give courage, encouragement. And that's what they gave us. They gave us that encouragement, and they said, don't give up. Don't give up on life. Don't go to the other side. And boy, I was close. And here we are, four guys just trying to figure shit out, and do our best with it, and encouraging each other. Keith, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. I think it's helped me just even now, because I know I've said even recently, man, I really miss her. Man, I really miss her. I wish she was here. She would know what to say, and it's helpful to envision what she would say. Um, and I'm like, no, I know her. I knew her. I knew who she was. I knew what she was about. I know she would have straightened me out, but in the most loving way. And just just those words, just the way that she made me feel, I never forgot that. Never. Um, Her impact, it's gonna stay with me for the rest of my life. And just the way that, like, it's not, I can't even. It's divine, because it was God ordained. It was literally God through her, you know, trying to raise me up and trying to instill those things in me that I didn't have and I didn't think I had, um, in me. So yeah, I think it's just like God, him like winking at us in a way, and through those people saying, I got your back. I don't I'm following you. I'm not letting you go. So yeah.
Keith, you just said something that to me is a home run in left center field, with two men out in the bottom of the ninth. It just touched my heart. And you said, it's God winking at us. And through, what was her first name, by the way?
Ethel.
Through Ethel, God winked at us, right? He winked at you, and now he's winking at us because we know about Ethel too, you know? And we know about your sponsor, Larry, and you guys know about that nun who helped me. And through these folks, God's winking at us. Isn't that something? I'm not going to forget that, Keith.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. That's You're just so good just to remember that. I appreciate all of you guys, just because bringing that to my remembrance, just bringing that, knowing that, no, her memories are with me, but knowing who she was is still who she was is still here. Like, I know this is what she would say. I know this is who she was, and who she, her essence, who she was, and it's with me still. So it was a good reminder. It was a blessing, and a very timely one at that. So I appreciate all of you, just reaching that.
The same thing we said to Mike is the same thing to you. You could start a book called the Ethel Book, and you could tell Ethel what you hadn't told her, as long as you listen in the Ethel book to how Ethel would respond to you after she knew. And she would be consistent with her message over and over again because she believed in you more than you believe in you. And so, you can test that out. You can literally write, this is how my life is going. This is what happened. This is how things came out about me. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm doing to move forward in my life and become a different kind of me, the me God designed. And you can let her know all of that, and she's going to be the bulldog, and she's going to uh as you picture what she's going to how she'll respond to you, it's going to be potentially really, really healing.
Yeah. I definitely will do that. I will definitely do that.
I'm not a bright guy, and I spend a lot of time trying to calculate this thing. So maybe you guys can come and maybe you three can give me the definitive answer. Okay? But it says that God forgives us and God loves us, okay, as far as the east is from the west. And I'm trying to figure out what that distance is, okay? Exactly how many miles is the east from the west, okay? And when you're describing Ethel, Keith, and Mike, Larry, Mike, there was an east to the west feel to that. Okay, they didn't buy the shit. Okay, but they didn't let the shit that you were struggling with deter them from the real knowledge of the real you they expected to show up, to the point where you can even say, tell me what you're not telling me, which is a positive view or a positive expectation that the person's going to answer the question at some cost to themselves, I might add. So as far as the East is from the West, that's pretty definitive. It might be a little Buzz Lightyear like from to infinity and beyond. It just it's pretty big.
That it also I'll just get interject here. I think I've been writing poetry for about 4 years now, and when I first shared some with Mike, he said, "Well, it's the space between the words where the understanding happens." That's what he said. He said when you get that in, and he said, "Just do it for yourself," which I have, and and I have I'm getting better because I'll just say the Serenity Prayer when I hear this in church, trying to make it all precise, and this and that. If there's 1,000 cattle on 1,000 hills, does that mean God doesn't own the rest? Or east from the west? It's a big distance. Or the 144,000, a large number, and I'm getting better. Just to let it go, Larry. Let it go. It's very clear from the context that this, it's the people that are black and white thinkers. God bless them. It doesn't help me at all, though. Instead of looking at the nuance, like you said, the what's behind it and what's around it, rather than some formula. So anyway, I'm not a very good Lutheran either. I'm a BL, I'm barely Lutheran. People say, "Okay," I say, "I'm just barely there." Anyway, I love that though. The East is from the West. You tell me. And it was real helpful to me once on that passage. That doesn't mean it's what's the word, forgotten? Maybe that's not the right word I'm looking for, but it's not like it never happened. The damage happened, the trauma happened, whatever. And that's where you need to go back and find healing and process it with safe people. That was new for me, even just a few years ago. And people will say, well, it's under the blood. Go on. Anyway, so thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, it may be under the blood, but if it's still affecting my behavior and my thoughts now, what do I do?
I was, I'd say about 12, 15 years ago, I wanted to get a new pair of sneakers. And I was working in New York at a clinic, being a therapist there. And I walked up to this store in the middle of York that sold cheap sneakers and cheap clothing. And I walked in and I was looking around, and this kid walked in about 16 years old, and the guy who was running the store yelled at him. He said, "Hey, don't steal anything." And the kid looked at him and he said, "You're not going to steal anything, right?" And the kid goes, "No." And the old man said to him, maybe not an old man, I'm an old man, but he was maybe in his 40s, and he said to him, "How you doing in school?" And the kid said, "C's." And the old man goes to him, "That's good." He goes, "Way to go." And I thought, uh-oh, something's going on here. So I stayed a little longer. And this girl walks in right after him. And the old man goes, "Don't steal anything." And she goes, "I'm not going to steal anything." And he goes, "How's your mom doing?" And she goes, "Fine." And he goes, "How's your grades?" And she goes, "I'm doing good. I'm doing better. They didn't kick me out of school." And another kid walked in a little later, same deal. And I thought, these kids are coming in for the medicine. They're not coming in to get yelled at, or maybe they are. Maybe that was part of the medicine, but they're coming in for the medicine, and he's giving it out.
Mm.
And the power of encouragement, the power of the love that our mentors gave us is, I think, as far as powerful as that East is from the West. It's infinite. And I think it's God's grace working, as Keith said, God's winking at us through those people who are giving us encouragement like that. And so when I walked out, I looked at them. I did buy a pair of sneakers that lasted about 3 weeks, by the way, but I did buy a pair of sneakers. And as I was checking out, I looked at the guy and I said, "I know what you were doing." And he just smiled at me and he said, "They're good kids." He said, "They just are, need that little push." And when I looked at you guys and I looked at myself too, and I look at Roy, we're all here. I think we're good men trying to do the right thing. And sometimes we fail, sometimes we succeed, but we're really working at it. And when I saw your tears welling up, Keith, and when you got emotional, Larry, about Mike, they're the guys that are, and they both gone now, but they're not. Like you said, Keith, they'll be with us forever, right? And so check this out. To keep it, you got to give it away. So we got to give it away, don't we? And we got to help people so that they don't give up and walk out of the library, if you know what I mean. So Roy, who's your mentor? Who's that person for you that that touched you in a moment of darkness and made a difference?
Well, I'm going to not answer your question, but I will if we have time, but we may not. Um, but I don't want to pull out where I was feeling. You know, the guy the guy is saying that we all steal, where he's not intimidated by our stealing, and it's not inevitable that we steal, you know, and and I think if we look at Mike and we look at Ethel, okay, and we look at the nun, okay, and we look at that last story, that's a consistent aspect of it. It isn't East from the West, La La Land, okay, where everything is beautiful and flowers are sprouting everywhere. Okay, it is, I know you, and I know the part of you that you struggle with. I may not know all the ways it comes out because people are good at hiding, but I can be present with you while I know that you're in the midst of making choices that define you, whether I steal or I don't steal. And I just, that just, you know, to me, I think part of the beauty of that story is it takes us all into our sinful natures that we're afraid of. Okay. And God's true message is, I know you're wild. I know you're sinful. I know you don't follow my law. You know, I'm not shocked by that. And I have a solution for that. And we don't have to run from that. And so then within that context, once he starts his beautiful first sentence, don't you steal from me, then it creates the rest of it, the context of being able to really love. And can you love somebody, okay, the Larry sponsees, ourselves, you know, without owning the stealing part? You know, the self-destructive element that, or for all have sinned, Romans 3:23, and the wages of sin is death, 6:23. You know, is it, you know, and so I just love that first line. It's like, bring it on. I'm not afraid. And there's no need to pretend that stealing from me isn't a possible thought for you. So that doesn't necessarily stop it. That does not stop it. And to me, that's what love is. It's an understanding of that fact and still loving. You know, God demonstrates his love toward us, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He moves towards us and knows it. Nobody's being fooled, despite all the times we spend all this energy trying to pretend to be a better Roy. You know, God and this guy basically says, don't steal from me. And he goes, steal from me. Because you could.
And one of the kids, I forgot to mention, one of the kids, he said, why aren't you in football practice? And the kid said they canceled it for today or something, which I don't know if was true or not. But the point is, yeah, you're right, Roy. That to me is such a wonderful interpretation of the meaning of what he was doing.
Yeah. And to me, that I thought, what would be if I'm him? Okay, I walk into the store and go, okay, I'm not him, but I'm a kid that he's worked with for a period of time. Okay, at some point I come into the store, I look at him and say, I thought about stealing from you today, but I chose not to. Okay. And because see, I think the way God treats us over time is the kid at that moment says, I take ownership of that part of me, and I don't expect you to see me as not having that possibility, and that's okay with me. And recovery is coming to terms with who Keith, Larry, Carl, and Roy are, okay, and not running from it. So as that relationship with those kids progressed, they could play in that zone. You know, I could steal from you, and I could steal from you this way, but to do that is for me to lose something I can't replace anyplace else, and that's a guy that treats me the way that you do, and I'm not going to do it. You know, and there's a series of progressions that story could take over time as our trust with God, as our trust with our sponsors, etc., grow, as we become more comfortable with the Keith that's imperfect, the Roy that's imperfect, the Larry that's imperfect, the Carl that continues to sin.
He wouldn't cut off the connection. And those kids knew that's where the medicine was, and they kept coming back. It was obvious that they had a relationship with him,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't want to risk it.
Mm-hmm. And to not, if he didn't say that sentence, it wouldn't be the same.
Oh, no.
Larry, you can write a poem about that and share it with us sometime. It begins with the sentence, are you going to steal from me today? So you could have some fun with that in that space.
Okay.
You were inspired, Larry. You never thought you'd be inspired to write a poem here tonight, right?
I think God winking and don't steal. Are you going to steal from me together? I could marry those two into something. So thank you, Keith, for the winking, because I've felt that from time to time out in nature. I have a farm, and so we have a major river that goes behind it. I get to walk on there and stuff. I've thought of God, that God's winking.
You know, it makes me feel real good to know that I think God has been winking at me for a long time.
I actually think he chuckles a lot too.
Yeah.
For sure.
We're giving you all kinds of ideas, Larry, for your poem.
Yeah, and like in meetings, whether Samson or 12-step, the phrase, someone will say, well, I haven't done that, and we all going, yet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like those that have been here say, just stick around. It'll come up, the word will come up. You stick around. And it's funny that people that are outside the communities, the recovery communities, or the understanding, or working with those folks in there, when they come to an open meeting, and I've had several friends come, and then they'll get in the car and they'll say, wow, why couldn't church be like that? Or they'll say, Jesus was there, they just didn't know his name. They could feel presence, that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
they didn't know his name. I love that. Yeah. Anyway, and he's with us now. I can feel it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not lose, as we have about a few more minutes here. We're moving towards the end. Let's think about those letters, and let's not lose those strong connections that God blessed us with mentors that have made us feel a way about ourselves that is true, that we often don't consider. And let's not shit on that. Let's not give up that valuable piece of who we are and that connection with them. Let's not let that happen. And let's see how God, as we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and feel what how what they did for us, their legacy within us. Let's value it and treat it right and build upon it. Nobody is here tonight who's been overly nurtured so much. Please keep all nurturance away from me. I've had so much, I just can't digest any more of it. Okay, this is not what brings us all together here. Okay, this is not what life usually is like. Okay, the touch and the not give up is odd, sadly. It is not standard. The bookcases are standard, but not the don't give up. That's not standard. So let's hold on to those things and nurture them and build them further into our lives. Let's not forget Ethel and Mike and that nun. Let's not do that. It's too valuable. In the few minutes we have left, as we sum up, we like to say, what does, if each person would share a kind of a takeaway, and then we'll move towards our ending. But the takeaway gives us a chance to emphasize one more thing that before we move on.
For me, it's connection that the mentors gave us, and the encouragement that the mentors gave us to keep us going through those dark times. I think that for me is, and the power of that. And I'll remember God winking from time to time, and maybe I'll notice it more.
I would say for me, it's the adage that I may not remember the words they said to me, the exact words, but I remember how they made me feel. My mentors. Accepted, loved. We're going to be okay. And that passing it on, passing it on, whatever that form that is, carrying the message, however you want to put it. And then writing a letter, like an ongoing letter. That was new. I thought, oh, it's really good. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, for me, I would say it's remembering that in the dark times, that remember their words, remember um, remember how they made you feel, and those memories are there for a reason. Um, to go toward the darkness, because God is not afraid of your crap, and neither were they. Um, and so it's okay to be you. Um, and yeah, to pass it on now. The thing that they saw that we couldn't see at the time, be that. Um, and yeah, just to, like Larry said, yeah, definitely gonna be writing that letter, that ongoing letter.
I was very aware, Keith, when you came on, that the last time, or first time, I think, that we talked, there's a lot of trauma that you experienced throughout life, same as Larry and the rest of us. And I'm really glad to have you come back, because sometimes when you talk about it, stirs stuff up, and then people disappear. I worry about them. So it's good to see you again. And I believe in you. I think Ethel's right. I think Mike's right. I think the nun was right. Uh, and because the nun was right, I've benefited from a long-term relationship with Carl, who's been one of the. Sometimes he's the nun in my life that will tell me not to give up. Uh, or treat me as far as the East is from the West, despite my imperfection. So, I appreciate everybody's open and honest approach to life. And one of the things, Larry, if I would have answered your question originally, is it's a thing I fight with therapists all the time, young therapists, and that is Micah was here tonight. I could say, Micah, tell him, and Micah would say it's we can't fix people, we can only be with people, and you can't fix your mentees, you can't fix your wife, you can't fix anything. You can only honestly be with them and learn to accept what occurs as a result of that, whether it's what you like or what you don't. You will be able to face what reality is versus put something between you and reality because you can't handle it, which is an addiction or some other mind-numbing thing. We need to wrap up our podcast for today. Boy, time goes fast when you're having fun. But the good news is Jesus continues to finish the good work within you. As he transforms you, you'll begin to see life's biggest challenges as holy moments. I felt tonight there were a lot of holy moments. Acknowledging our sinful choices, or we might steal from somebody, emotional struggles and relational difficulties, it isn't easy. Today's holy moments prompted us to reflect closely on our responsibilities, allowing us to collectively seek God's strength for change. Please feel free to invite anyone you know who might benefit from this discussion. We are honestly we have several people behind the scenes here, and we're saying how many people do we need to be a part of this to make sure come next June we continue to do it. So the more you can let people know about it, the more likelihood we'll be able to keep this investment going. May God bless you with the strength to practice Ephesians 4, 2, and 3. The first sentence is a stitch. Okay, God, that we need God's help. Always be humble. All right, now if that's not challenging enough, and gentle, that's not challenging enough. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourself united in the Spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. Now remember, God is quite the conversationalist, so talk and listen to God today. You brothers, take care. We love you. Take care.